Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Society of Like-Minded Men. My name is Ramin Kavan. I'm your host, and this is your other host, Tommy Sporletter. Good day, sir. How are you?
Good, sir. You?
I'm well. I had a good weekend last week. It was kind of restful, which is unusual, so that was nice. How about yourself?
Restful weekend, unusual. Yeah, honestly, the same thing. You know, when you're trying to get stuff done, sometimes that's where you got to get it done. The week gets going so fast and so hairy and moving along. And honestly, you know, a lot of the quote personal stuff. That's when you have time to do it.
The topic for today is the power of, regardless of what it is, just getting started. And then the power of the incremental steps thereafter to keep you headed in that direction, right? There's this notion, I hear this a lot from people where they say, well, I'm going to try to fill in the blank. You can't try to do anything. Either, as Yoda once says, do or do not, there is no try, right? You can't try to lift a chair. You can't try it. You either lift the chair or you do not.
Or you don't. Yeah.
Right. And so at the end of the day, the question is, what is it you want to do? What's the thing that you really, really want to do? And then making the decision one day that you are worthy enough and that you are important enough to actually go after that thing. And I don't really care what it is. It's, you know, whether it's, I want to be a motorcyclist, I want to learn how to fly an airplane, I want to be a singer-songwriter, I want to be a photographer. It doesn't really matter. The question is, they say the old adage is, the voyage of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. When is your single step, right? And that's the decision you need to make in the quiet of your life, right? If you're sitting alone somewhere or you're looking in the mirror, when do you look at yourself and go, today is my day?
Well, that's it. It's this topic in a short I saw came up today, and I think it's called, it's like GM Badass or something. But anyways, it's pretty cool. Something I followed a little bit. But the topic this morning came up, and he basically said, close your eyes and breathe deep and just listen to me for 45 seconds. And then he basically said, picture yourself in 10 years from now.
Yes.
Where are you? Where are you?
Valid
Look back.
question.
Now look back. And did you get there? Where are you? And if you want to get there, you need to start today. Because if you don't start today, in 10 years from now, you're going to be this person. And again,
right here.
Your eyes are closed and you're visioning this. And, you know, they talk about that your funeral, what do you want to be like in there and all that stuff. But there's such reality in it. If you don't get started, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, you sure as hell ain't ever going to get there.
No.
And that's the power in that we're talking whether it's the power, the will, the drive, we've talked about the why, whatever it is, you got to start.
There needs to be a compelling reason within your own psyche that says, this is me, this is my time, that I get to do, not I want to do, I get to do this.
I get to do, yeah.
Right? That's different.
Right.
Want is, I want a lot of things.
Everybody wants.
I want a root beer float. That doesn't mean I'm going to get it.
But it can be dumbed down that way. I mean, if you want a root beer float, you can sit and want all day. But
correct.
You're not going to get the root beer float unless you get off your butt.
That's it.
And you go get it, or you pick up the phone and you order, or you order it. You've got to do something versus just, you know, when people talk about manifestation, if I just manifest and I manifest being rich, or I manifest being thin, or I manifest a beautiful woman. But if you don't take the steps, if you don't start whatever it takes to even get the process started, and then that's what we're going to talk about, then the incremental steps then to make it happen. Right. But if you don't do anything, and I know it should seem obvious, but for so many people, and I've been this person in my lifetime too, that I wanted to do it, I wrote it down, I'm going to do it, I never started it, and you look back and go, oh crap. Well, why didn't it happen? Well, because you never even started.
You didn't do anything about it.
Right. Exactly.
Right. You know, it's like, well, I'm cold. Maybe I'll try to light a fire. No, light the damn fire.
I'll try to light the fire.
Right. You can't try to light the fire.
You know, I haven't really thought about, I'll try to, but it is a try.
That's what people do, right? Everybody. Yeah. And this is we are not saying that we're different than anybody else. We've all done this. He and I have both done this in our lifetimes. It's I'll get to it. Maybe next week, maybe next Thursday. I don't know what's so special about Thursday, but at the end of the day, if you do not stand up one day and go, yep, today, happening, and then begin to take steps in that direction. I think when a lot of the manifestation talk that happens is in a vacuum, because the requirement, yes, the universe will actually step up to help you once you make a decision. But and this is the big one, is if you don't take that first step, the universe assumes you're not interested.
Well, and where the manifestation comes in, because once you take that step, then you're changing your thought patterns, your behaviors, and then you become open and aware, because then you start attracting. And it's not
Right.
necessarily that you're attracting it different than you were before. The thing is now you're realizing it because you're doing it. You're
Yes.
not trying
Yeah,
to do it. You're
you're
doing
it. Yes, exactly.
You're doing
This
it.
is the key, is do it, as you know, I like we said it earlier, do or do not. There is no try. So what is it you want? What is it you really, really, really want? I mean, we tell people, write down your goals. That's nice. It's an interesting use of paper and pen, but if you don't actually say, this is my goal, I'm starting on Wednesday to do X, Y, and Z to take the first steps. And then after that, every other day, I'm going to do blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You're not going to get there. It's not going to happen magically, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what you said. I'm going to do this. Not I'm going to try.
Yeah,
to
I'm
do
going.
This.
This is going. This is
I'm
happening.
going. I'm
This
going
is
to do
happening, right? It is the it you know it and I think people tend to be reticent to get started because their whole notion is, well, what if I fail? What if you do fail? So what?
right. Well,
Then you've just learned one more way how not to do it. Do it again, and then do
that
it
comes
again,
in that thing, and
and then do it again.
we've talked about this on previous episodes and stuff, and that's the thing that comes back to who cares? Well, who cares if you
Who cares? And if you fail, you learned something. You cannot go through an exercise, fail, and not learn something.
yeah.
That's the beauty of that and when you learn something, then the next time when you come back around to do the same thing again, you know what to avoid and how to structure what you're doing differently so that you are more successful.
There's a great book and a great read, and it's called Failing Forward by
Mm-hmm.
John Maxwell. And I've got a copy, and I've given some copies, and it's probably 15, 20 years now. And John Maxwell's still around, but it was one of the books. And then I followed some of his stuff, but it's a really good read because I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't, we all fail. We fail at, it can be really small things or it could be big things. But if you never start it and you don't do it and you don't fail, how do you know if we talked about too, if it's right or wrong, you won't even know unless you start.
Unless you start. If you don't try, you don't know.
And if you fail, then you've learned the lesson and then you go forward. And you're always moving forward. Yeah. And where some of the problems are is people get stuck in that failure and they get stuck there because then it comes back to because they care too much. Like,
yes.
Who cares? Who cares what people think? Who cares what people say? Who cares? You did it.
It doesn't. And I think that it's because a lot of people suffer from that because we were all raised by parents who use the phrase, what will the neighbors think?
Yeah. Where have you heard that?
Where have you heard that before, right?
And
Who cares?
I think
Who
that
cares
still
what the
happens
freaking neighbors think?
Right?
Right? Mind your damn business.
That's right.
It drives me nuts, right? But it's that, and that is the tape that plays in the back of everybody's head. That if I do this and fail, what will the neighbors think? What will my friends think? What will I post on Facebook? Who cares?
Right.
Right? Don't post it on Facebook. Nobody. In fact, my recommendation is if you're going to do something big with your life, don't tell anybody. Literally, don't tell anybody unless you know there's people around you who are willing to go, yeah, man, this is what you should do. We'll cheer you on. If you don't have those people in your life, shh, quiet.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just
and
step
if you
forward.
And if you don't have those people in your life, then you need to look at your life and look at your circle around.
Change your circle. Change your circle.
And you're always going to have detractors and you're always going to have people. But if your closest relationships are the people that when you do something, not try it, but you do something and they want to see you fail or they want to be the one, well, I told you so. Maybe it's time to, find some new company.
And my father always used to say that. He goes, when you try to do something big, 9 out of 10 people will step up and tell you it can't be done.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of there's
Just shut up and do it. Don't tell anybody.
There's a ton of truth in that, and that comes back to you say it, then just don't care what people think, do it. Do it,
Right.
and not try,
Right.
because try almost seems like a, you know what I mean, like a real passive, "I'm gonna
It is
try.
passive. Trying is passive.
I'm gonna
Trying
try."
is basically
No,
hoping that,
I'm
you
gonna
know,
fricking do it.
I'm unemployed, I'm gonna sit on the couch, and I'm going to try to get a job without moving.
I'm gonna try to find a job, and I'm gonna pick up my phone and
That's not how it
no,
works, right? But
no,
at the end of the day, though, if you're going to get up and go do something and it's that important to you, be very, very selective about who you tell. Because, and
right,
it's not because they're trying to be mean, but a lot of people who listen to what you're trying to do will immediately internalize that and go, well, I can't see me doing it, therefore it must be impossible. So they'll immediately vomit negative stuff on you.
right,
And it's, again, not that they're trying to be mean. They just can't, they're not there. They're not in the same headspace you are. And so sharing your information with them is only slowing you down, right? And there's a couple of great books that I've read on how to run a business and what have you. And it says that there are people who will help you get started, who will fall eventually by the wayside as you grow and you become better and bigger and more capable of doing the thing you said you wanted to do. The number of people who will meet you at the summit of the mountain is going to be very small. So if you're waiting for all of your Facebook friends to end up at the top of the mountain with you, they ain't coming. They can't be bothered. It's too much work.
well,
It's
yeah.
just easier to take a picture of their breakfast
Well, and the
and tell
thing
you what
is,
they had, right?
and that's too, and there's a lot of people up at that summit waiting for you to come on board, and they talk about there's things that you can go through different tiers as you grow and you're building your relationships or your life, or if you're a entrepreneur and you're building a business, inevitably you're going to outgrow where you've been and you're going to go to the next step, and
And it's
you're going to go to the summit, and then once you hit the summit, a place that you couldn't think of, that's gonna
a big
seem so
deal.
minuscule,
Yeah. What
and
was the
then
big
you're gonna
deal?
have there's gonna be the
Another
bar is
summit.
gonna be
Yeah. Another
higher.
summit. Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
summits never stop, and that's the nice thing about, honestly, about life and the world, and especially us with the freedoms that we have in this country called America, because not everyone has it.
Most of the world doesn't have the freedom you do.
No, they don't.
Right?
They
And
really don't.
you are literally blessed living in this country. Yeah, yeah.
Amen.
Is the country a fricked up mess right now? Yes. Okay. Let's get beyond that. Overall, if you pull back up to like the 10,000-foot level, this country is still pretty amazing.
Heck yeah. One thing is I start every day with, 3 things that I'm grateful for, and it's not hard
It's
to come
not.
up with 3 things, and if you can't sit down as a person
And come up with
and
3 things you're grateful
3
for.
things that you're grateful for, then again, then you need to take a real hard look at what's
Take a
going
real
on
hard
and
look,
what you're
right?
doing, and or the circles that you're in, or so, because
Right.
even folks that are having a really hard time, you were talking earlier off camera, about a job. Well, why don't you share that story real quick of what you were
So
talking about?
and I'll put the link to it, the video, because I don't want to take up the time. But there's a YouTuber that I respect and follow. His name is Trent Palmer, and he is a bush pilot. And I'm a big aviation fan. I'm trying to become an airplane pilot myself. And he is a bush pilot, and he flies bush planes and basically goes backcountry camping with his airplane and all of his buddies. But this one episode that I'll put the link to down is about a buddy of his who wanted to become a pilot so that he could become a helicopter life flight pilot and help people that needed it. He went snowmobiling as he was just beginning his whole journey of becoming a pilot. Doing the studies, putting the airtime. He went snowmobiling one day and did a jump up in the mountains, the Sierra Mountains up here, and overshot the jump. And he landed hard at the flat at the bottom of the jump, and his back basically snapped in half at the L1 vertebrae. And he said, he says in the video, he goes, instantly, everything below my belly button stopped working. And he goes, I was just laying there in the snow, not knowing if I was going to make it. Right. And then the rest of the video is about his getting rescued and his wife basically saying, you got some time, but you're going to need to freaking get in that airplane and get your check ride done. So I suggest you get up off your ass and go do things. Right.
Right,
And this is
right.
about that. The guy can't even walk. And his wife is like, yeah, that's nice. Just freaking make it happen, dude. Right. But there is a point at which she says, and because he was scared of taking check rides. And she said, look, for now, you can borrow my courage for a while until you have your own. And he married her, as well he should have.
Right?
That kind of girl you keep.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And he is now he still walks around with 2 canes because his legs are still wobbly, but they work enough to be able to work rudder pedals. And he has not only taken a check ride and gotten his private pilot's license, but he is now jet certified. He flies the Vision Jet. He flies commercial jets, right? And he's now he just recently bought himself a Cub and is flying backcountry camping for the first time, right?
Nice. Yep.
And it's what it says is that snowmobile accident was the first step of his journey.
Yeah. Well, and then he wakes up, I'm sure, like you said, he wakes up every day and he feels
Every day.
blessed and he's grateful that because he could not be there. And I bet that. And then there's stories upon stories of people.
Right. And there are, and and this is really what, but your biggest challenge is surrounding yourself with positive stuff. Feed your brain positive stuff.
Yes.
And make the decision to head towards the thing that makes you the best you there is. And there is no destination, by the way, in becoming the best you there is. It's a journey. You're going to get to a level that you say, yeah, I want to get to fill in the blank. And when you get there, you're like, okay, but now I want to get to, right. And I've been, I started out many years ago in martial arts and I outgrew several teachers. Didn't make them bad teachers. It's just that I got to a point where I was like, okay, he has basically gotten me to a point and now I need to get beyond him and find a different teacher to take me to the next level.
Yeah.
This is true of musicians. This is true of chefs. This is true of anybody who wants something bad enough. And there's a joy in finding that next level. There's a joy, and I love to cook. And there are times when I'll squirt stuff on a cutting board and I'll mix it together and go, ooh, that sucks. I won't do that again. Mistake. But then there's times every once in a while I'll put something together and go, oh, hey, that's not bad at all. Right? Instant. I learned something, right? There has to be a joy in everything you do.
Well, that's it. And you have to want to grow because the reality is, and this is what I know, and I live by this. If you're not growing, you're dying. And that's everything in life and in the world, from the smallest, organism, plant life, to people. If you're not growing, and you can take it down to, if you're not trying to learn, if you're just sitting there in a vegetative state,
right,
just watching TV and snacking on potato chips and just, and I've had people in my life that I saw that, and the older they got, they just kind of deteriorated, and they stopped wanting to grow and learn.
That's it right there.
Improve.
That's it right there.
They
stopped wanting to learn.
And that's hard, and that's a hard thing to think, because I'm at a point in my life, and we talk about this, and hopefully the people who watch this and follow us, I think it'll start resonating that, man, life is precious. It's never guaranteed to be gone tomorrow. And I hope I live to be frickin' 100.
Absolutely.
But if I'm going to live to be 100, I want to do it in a healthy, happy,
joyful
creative
way. Yeah, absolutely.
Creative, successful way. Not, oh my God, in 15 years, I'm going to be, in a walker. And I just hope I could sit on the porch and drink iced tea. And not that there's anything every now and then we talk about that, sitting on the porch and drinking iced tea and watch the sunrise. But, I'm probably going to be picking up a book and reading it and learning.
Right. But it comes down to vision. The reason I say that is I was watching I'm always watching other YouTubers
Mm-hmm.
And there's a comedian called Steve Harvey. He's been on for a long time, and he was having a conversation with one of his audience members. And this lady was saying that her kids are making fun of her because she's 65 and has an AARP flip phone with the giant buttons. And they recently went on a trip, a cruise, and she made her husband buy an iPhone 6. And he leaned in and he goes, where the hell did you even find an iPhone 6? Right. But their attitude was, well, we're 65. We can't possibly, be requested to learn anything new. And I'm like, dude, I'm 63 and I got so much stuff I want to learn right now. Like right now that, there literally isn't enough time in a 24-hour day. Yeah. How do you live like that? How do you just say, roll over it on and play possum? That's just wrong. It is a complete abdication of responsibility to yourself.
Yes. And part of this is, okay, you've got to start to get there. And then the second piece of this is, what are the
What are the incremental steps?
steps that you need to take, instrumental steps? And I call them electrifying paths, and it's certain things, paths that you take, things that you do to get you there. And I am one to set certain goals. Each person has to find things that work for them. But
Of
this we
course.
talk about. To get to where you want to go, you got to start. We've established that.
First
Then the
step.
next thing is, okay, then what do you do to get there? Because it's not going to magically happen. Then we've
No.
talked about you create habits. So one of your electrifying paths is, okay, what habit can I start today that's going to get me there? You want to lose 30 pounds? I can name 3 electrifying paths right now to lose 30 pounds. Okay. Drink more water, less soda, crap, just drink water. Just drink water.
Just water. Yeah.
Okay. Walk 30 minutes every day.
Just go for a walk.
And don't eat
Crap.
Don't eat sugar. Just cut out
the carbohydrates.
Cut out
right?
sugar, carbs, process. There's 3 electrifying paths, and I can tell you this because I've done it, and I can speak to it. We talked about this in the group that I joined, and this is no lying, but in 12 weeks, I lost 50 pounds. All I drank was coffee and water. I used to drink sodas and Monsters and alcohol, no alcohol. I worked out 5 times a week, but it was 5 days, 3 days of light lifting, Tabata work, 2 days of cardio. So 5 days a week for 12 weeks. And at that time on my plate was 50% greens and 50% protein. No carbs, no sugars,
right?
Greens and protein. And work out.
No processed foods.
Everything in its natural state. I worked out and I drank water. And literally in 12 weeks, I dropped 50 pounds. And this is when I found out that I was going to become a father. And I was a lump of crap. I found out, I was going to be a father, and what am I going to do? And I'm like, and I had to change. First of all, I decided I need to lose. And it wasn't even really a goal. It wasn't a goal of 50 pounds. It was just like, I got to stop I got to stop being a lump of crap. I can't live like this. I used to be, a college athlete, and there's men that I used to be this and I used to be that. And then time goes and takes it. And it's
no one cares what you used to be.
No, used to be. And I used to and at that point, when I decided what my why was, and my why was I was going to be the best damn father I could be. And I'm going to be a father for the first time at 50. We talked about first time ever. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to live to outlive all my fathers and my grandfathers? Because history of our family, the German Irish heritage, all that is meat and potatoes. And they were big men that carried around weight. And at the end of their lives, they were really, all of them, when we talk about this, were kind of in miserable states.
Yes,
they were retired and they didn't know what to do. Like, I can't see myself ever retiring now.
No.
I can't. And
retirement is the kiss of death. I don't care what anybody tells you.
But in that, I decided and I started and I found those 3 electrifying paths that got me there, and I got it done and I accomplised it.
Right. Exactly.
And that's just one of many things that I've done. And I was still active and I was still playing softball and golf, but I wasn't doing it at a level. But now I ruck, and this, I'm rucking. I try to ruck 30 minutes a day with 30 pounds on my back. I don't get every day.
You may want to define for our viewers what rucking is in case they've never heard
rucking of it. I bought a rucksack. So rucking is basically carrying weight. You walk.
In a backpack, effectively.
You don't run, some people, but you carry a backpack. And I used to carry a backpack with 50 pounds on it, mind you. And I used to carry that around.
Yeah.
And when I put it on
in your belly,
and I walk, and I go 30 minutes, and usually I can get almost 2 miles in 30 minutes. And it's walking. It's a steady walking pace. I don't run. I have a bad knee that I'm probably going to have to get replaced because of, college and high school injuries and stuff. But I do that, and it's a reminder also of that's who you used to be for a long, long time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And felt crap and didn't sleep good and all of that. And at now 55, I mean, it's fine. I'll profess my age. Heck, who cares? Like I said, I don't care.
Yeah.
I feel better now than I did, Ramin, at
I
35.
Can imagine. Of course. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's interesting because right about the time you and I first met, I had gone to the doctor, and this was probably when I was 60 years old, I think 59 or 60 years old. And the doctor basically took blood and, did the whole blood pressure thing. And he says, well, basically, when we came back with the results, he says, basically, if you don't do something like now to fix your blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol levels, all that kind of stuff. You're going to die on my watch. I said, that doesn't sound like fun. So I think I'll avoid that if that's okay with everybody. So I did exactly what you did, which is I immediately I got rid of all things that were sugary in my world, like no breads, no tortillas, no beans, no rice, nothing. For about 9 months, the idea was to force my body to start burning the fat that I had accumulated, right? I was at that point, I think I had like a 46 waist and I was 290 pounds. Most of it was fat. I was, I felt like that Mike Myers character, fat bastard,
Oh my God, that's so funny you brought that up because they were talking about that on a radio show today.
No, of course I'm no happy. Look at me, I'm a fat bastard. So, and I basically stuck to that like my life depended on it because it literally did. And I ate, like you said, my dinner plates were half greens. I used to have salads, and the only salad dressing I had was olive oil and salt and pepper and a little bit of lemon juice, and proteins, grilled proteins, sauteed proteins, that kind of thing, and black coffee. And I eventually went from like 290-ish down to 225 was my lowest point. And then I went and had my blood pressure taken and all the blood taken. And the guy's like, I don't know what you did, but you now have the numbers of a 35-year-old.
I got the same thing when I went to the
Right.
like I hadn't seen my doctor and came back and it was, I don't know what you're doing, but kudos
Do it.
to you.
Keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, though, I looked at myself at that point. Now I was down to like my size 36 jeans for the first time since I was in high school. Look at me. And I looked at myself and I looked gaunt.
Mhm.
I looked, like when you look at somebody and go, man, they're too skinny.
Same
That's
thing
what,
for me, dude.
yeah.
I was told that people who hadn't seen me for like 6 months, they're like, "What'd you do? Are you sick
Are
or
you,
something?" You know as a man,
yes.
this isn't right. And then this goes back to,
Yeah.
at what point do you decide this
Yeah.
isn't right and you're going to do something? Not try to do it, but you're going to do it. And we
Do
just
something.
talked about then the steps that you have to take to make it happen, the electrifying path. It's just like that's the one thing when we talked about your health, but talk about income and generation. I mean, at that point, Ramin, I had fallen off a roof. And and I was going through PT, and
Right.
I had never had a quote 6-figure salary at the time. And there was another guy in our group. We set there are different goals, and one was work, work and wealth. And we both challenged each other. What do you want to get?
What do you want?
And within a year's time, when we did that, he got basically quote his dream job at the time, which now he's outgrown that.
So
But
you
he
outgrow
got
them.
within that year, he got that. And
Right.
within that same time frame, I got off PT, got released, and lo and behold, it opened some doors. And now I'm working at a job in a place that 5 years ago I never imagined. Like, I'd have the
Even the
income I'm
opportunity.
making and the
Yep.
convenience of the freedom. Even though I work for someone else, I run my own things, and being a single dad, I can raise my daughter and
On your own.
on my own and make my time and the freedom to do that. Where not so long ago, I was truly beholden to the man, and nothing against that. People, you got to work, you got to make an income. But when I decided enough of this and I'm
Yes.
going after it, and I
Yeah.
put it down and I started doing it, and
Yes.
I hired a gentleman to help me update my resume. You know what I mean? Because I hadn't done it in a while, and then put it out on LinkedIn and other places, and but again, that was a start of, until I decided I was going to do it, it was never going to happen. And then I started figuring out those little things that help you get there. And that's the thing I talked to you about.
It is. It's the little things, though. That's the thing that I think everybody is like, because they'll come and ask you, well, what happens next? Dude, I don't know. Take the
You don't
first
know,
step.
but
Take the
you're
first
gonna
step
know.
and see what happens. Something is
guess what?
going to happen to help you get there.
It's going to happen. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. And that's where then the manifestation comes in, because it's going to come to you and you're going to see it. And you're like, oh, that's what I do. And then all of a sudden you're like, hell, that wasn't that hard.
It wasn't that well. And the other thing is, you're also going to get a lot of these kind of things that are going to happen once you take that first step, where you're going to be like, the universe will step up and you'll get opportunities and the ability to do certain things, and they'll come out of nowhere. And
Yeah.
and it's only because you decided to take the step.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Right.
And to me, it's I've always said that the best way to get what you want in life is to be the customer at the restaurant who knows what they want off the menu. Right.
I like that. Can you say that again? I gotta write that one. You need to be
the customer in the restaurant who knows what they want off the menu.
Looks at the menu and I'm gonna
And says, I
you
know
need
what
to
I
be the
want.
customer at the restaurant that knows what they want off the menu. But that's so practical. But
it is. It's very, and it's very, very, very simple. The thing is, if you go to a restaurant and you sit and stare at the menu for 3 days, and the waiter comes up and says, "What can I get you?" and you go, "I don't know," he's going to say, "Well, I'll be back in a while. You make some decisions." You're never going to get because the cook in the kitchen is never going to get a notice that says, the guy on table 14.
You're never going to get it unless
you're never going to get it.
Make the decision. And the only place that I know where try even works in that scenario is if you go to a dim sum restaurant and you can try a little bit.
But even that, you have to choose to take it off the cart and eat it.
But right, you
chose, right? There is no try. You either pick up the little dumpling and eat it, or you don't pick up the dumpling and eat it. Those funny. Are the choices.
It's funny when we talk about this stuff, and you know this, we don't really rehearse, but the ideas that flow, and you think about it, and we've related what health and restaurants and working out and just like, but it all comes down to what we've been talking about.
It does.
If you want it, you've got to start. You can't sit on the sidelines. It's never, I mean, that's obvious, but it's never going to happen if you don't start. You've got to start.
The question I have for everybody, and this is something you should sit back and listen to me ask the question and then think in your own time about the answer. Who wins if you're not living your best life? That's all there is, right?
I like it.
I don't know how else to put it. That's the simplicity of life.
Because you don't, and those you care about and those around you don't either. It's really that simple.
Yes. You need to choose. You need to know what you want off the menu.
And
tell the waiter.
Why would you want to sit around living a miserable life?
It's not even that. It's the fear of failure is so prevalent that people are actively not living their best lives because they're afraid that something bad might happen. And the question the question I have for people like that is, what if something good happens? What are you going to do then?
Right. Yeah. And in 10 years, you're going to be there going the same place you
wondering
why I did.
We said this in our previous episode. In 10 years, will you regret not having done it?
Yeah. No regrets.
I don't have any. I knock on my wooden head. I live a pretty damn good life. Look at us. I mean, we live amazing lives. I'm healthy. I have, friends, family, employees, customers, and I'm doing dogs, and I'm doing the things that I want to do in life, but not by accident.
No, not by accident.
Ladies and gentlemen, none of this is by accident. It's by choice.
How many stories are there? People hit the lotto and they play it, and by accident they won it, and in 2 years they're right back. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Those are the only accidents that happen. But if you don't, if you don't change what you're doing and how you're living and who you want to be and where you want to be, it's going to be the same thing. That's the definition of insanity. Is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yes.
No,
that doesn't work.
That's insanity. It really is. So do it, start it.
Yes.
And then it won't take you that long to figure out these little steps, these little things you need to take to get there. And then the other thing is, if you're not getting there or you want to get there quicker, once you started it, then you can start identifying things. Then you start doing research on your own because, I mean, the world, this right here, computers, podcasts, all you got to do is type in a sentence, what you want. You can get all kinds of ideas, but how the hell are you going to get the ideas if you don't even know what you want and you don't start it? Right?
Yeah, not knowing what you want is the killer.
You talk about that a lot. I know we talked about all this. You've said that to many people that I've seen, and you say this to your employees and people you hire, and they come to you, and your first thing is, "What do you want?" And when they say, "I don't know," well, how the hell am I supposed to know if you don't even know?
Well, you know what I mean? It's funny. My wife's youngest daughter, when I first met her, she was 7 or 8 years old, and we went out and had lunch together, and I bought her some sushi. And I asked her then, "What do you want from life?" she looked at me and she goes, I don't know. Why is that important? I'm like, trust me, it is. And this is something we need to get our children to start thinking is, what do they want, right? What do you really want? Yes, it's okay that a 3-year-old says, I want to be an astronaut. Nothing wrong with that, right? Maybe he'll never be an astronaut, but at least he knows what he wants, right? My wife's middle daughter, when she was 8, knew she wanted to be a biologist. By age 25, she graduated early from Yale with a marine biology PhD and got hired sight unseen to work in Europe at a natural history museum. Right?
Some people quicker than others and they catch on. But here's the thing too. It's never too late. It's never too late.
No, in fact, it's weird. It's for men. And this is a channel about men. I know for a fact that a lot of men become more successful in their late 50s and early 60s.
Oh, there's studies all over the place.
And I think the reason, and I think personally, the reason for that is you get to an age where you don't care anymore.
That's just it. You just don't care. And then
you don't care. You're like, you know what? Screw everybody. I'm doing this thing for me, right?
Right.
And the positive outflow from that is enormous.
Oh yeah.
Right. Your family, your friends, your coworkers, everybody, right? But men in their 60s choose to do things that they've been wanting to do for a long time. They put on the back burner since they were in their 30s because they got married, they had bought a house, they had kids, They had school, they had ballet, they had whatever. Now they don't have that anymore, and they're like, my turn. And it's okay to have it be your turn. Nothing wrong with that.
It is.
You need your turn, right? Colonel Sanders didn't become successful till he was in his late 60s.
Well, yeah, Walt Disney went bankrupt 3 times.
Again, if there's a fear of failure, right, going bankrupt 3 times and yet building one of the largest companies in the world ever, right, is an indication that it's about resilience. It's about, this is why I want to put that link to the Trent Palmer video in the description. Resilience is the key.
I think that'd be a good topic.
That's a whole different topic. One
of our shows coming up is resiliency, because I got stories for days on being resilient, and in that comes
where resilience actually comes from, right? Because we don't teach our children to be resilient. This is the problem that we're having, that employers are having with younger folks being hired. The moment something goes wrong, the whole enchilada crumbles, right? Because there's nobody standing, okay, well, that went wrong. All right, let's do it this way, right? There's no immediate decision to do it a different way. It's oh my God, something bad happened. Yeah. So
what do they call us in the radio world or whatever? So here's our little teaser, guys. You're listening. Next episode is going to be about resilience, and in resilience, we're going to put is regrets and or not having them, because I do know this. To be resilient, you can make mistakes, you can fail, but you really can't spend a whole hell of a lot of time living with regret, because if you do, you will never get to where you want to go, and you will not be as fully effective and resilient as you want to be. So I don't know. Unless you got anything else to say on that, I think we can kind of cut it at that and get ready for...
I think we can kill
it. Now you got me wanting to do, because I got all kinds of stuff on resiliency, my friend.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Yes, those can be future episodes, but yeah,
you betcha.
Number one takeaway from today: get started.
Yes.
That's it. I'm done.
Get started. Get started. Do it.
Started. Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
We'll cheerlead you. I won't wear a miniskirt, but I will cheerlead you.
We will. And if you're struggling, or you're having
let us know.
Dude, shoot us a comment. Say, hey, this and that. And
we're happy to give you advice. We've done a lot of stupid shit in our lives.
You're damn right. That's why we're here. We're just trying to, I told somebody today, trying to pay it forward, and the lessons that I've learned. And again, I'm no spring chicken, but I still got a lot of time left. And I enjoy doing this with you and sharing our story.
Absolutely.
And I know it's resonating with some men. And if we can just touch one guy and they share their story. But hey, you guys help me with this. That would be the most beautiful thing in the world. Phenomenal. So we're gonna keep going, man. All right. Peace.
All right. Cheese. Yep. Cheese? Where did cheese come from? Cheers.
Cheers, later.